Sturgean Bay, Wisconsin, 4 o'clock in the morning of October 5th, 1970. A nurse's assistant had been called into a patient's room several times throughout the night, as he claimed that his sleep had been disturbed by an odd sight. The man claimed to see monkeys swinging in the trees outside of his window. Finally, the nurse decided to take a look for herself. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just another tinfoil hat. Welcome to my show. Today, we will be discussing the fascinating and funky case of the Barrel of Monkeys UFO. Now, this is a shorter case, but one that, in my opinion, offers a really unique look at the phenomenon. The reporting witness was an unnamed nurse's assistant and mother of 4, who in October of 1970 worked 2 nights a week the night shift at a hospital somewhere near Sturgean Bay. Now, this particular night, that of October 5th, a patient who, for the record, she did describe as pesky and always complaining about something, kept ringing the bell asking for assistance. She answered it each time, thinking little of it, until the last ring, which occurred around 4 in the morning. As she answered this call, she found the patient sitting at the edge of the bed, insistent that there were monkeys, swinging in the trees and sitting on the window ledge outside of his window. Now, by this point, she said that the drapes were closed, but she believed that he may have been looking through them prior to calling her. There was a slight crack in the drapes through which the witness could see a bright light streaming into the room. So she got the patient back to bed and then went to check out the window for herself. Now, this was the first time she took any notice of the window, as this was the first time the patient had mentioned the monkeys outside of it. It was not, as you may have expected, a barrel of monkeys. No, instead the witness claimed to see a large yellow-green balloon-like object with cast a beam of intense white light. She described the lighting and color of the object as diffuse and pulsating. Now, later calculations made by an aerial phenomena research organization investigator concluded that the object, including the beam of light, was about 100 feet long, hovering about 20 feet off the ground and about 100 feet away from the hospital. So, pretty dang big and pretty dang close. The witness claimed that she was so just absolutely shocked by the object that she, quote, stood there paralyzed for about 5 minutes, transfixed by the sight that she was seeing. Finally, the object started to move up and off. Now, the witness claimed that at this point the color changed to a kind of orange glow around the object, and at this point the shock or spell was finally broken, and she went to grab another nurse, but by the time they arrived back in the room, all that remained of the sighting was a faint white glow, which gradually faded. Now, this is a funky little case, and the first question that I have is, did the initial witness, the patient, actually see monkeys outside his window? Now, to clarify, when I say did he actually see monkeys, I don't mean were there actually monkeys, but is that what he saw? Now, the reporting witness saw a giant spherical object with a beam of light projected from it, but I think that there are a few options for the first witness. Now, the first option is, of course, that he didn't really see anything. It's sheer coincidence that he calls the nurse in because he's had a dream or something that there are monkeys outside his window, or hey, maybe he was just monkeying around. And there just so happens to be a UFO outside of his window instead of monkeys. The second is that the light may have been involved in some sort of secondary way. It woke him up, disturbed his sleep, and in this hypnagogic state he envisioned monkeys outside the window in some sort of waking dream. Now, this seems like a perfectly valid option and kind of likely because, a light comes in the window, disturbs his sleep, it's interrupted, he wakes up and is in this state. So those are kind of the first two options. An equally valid option, in my opinion at least, is that the light was intrinsically connected with the patient's sighting. Maybe the light woke him up, he went to check the window, and saw monkeys swinging from the trees outside. Again, not actual monkeys, but that is what he actually saw. Now, if we can take that witness's account, this case is fascinating for the fact that 2 people looked at the same anomaly and saw 2 completely different things. One saw a loose barrel of monkeys, and the other a giant pulsating UFO, and I'll get back to that topic in just a second. The reporting witness claimed that she didn't even connect the monkeys with the UFO sighting until the APRO investigator, Mr. Andropoulos, told her about the infamous Kelly Hopkinsville encounter, one of the great classics of UFO occupant sightings. I do find it kind of interesting that this connection was made, seeing as in this case, you have 2 witnesses, one saw a craft and one entities, whereas in the Kelly Hopkinsville case, you have this kind of mass sighting of craftless entities, and then a few scattered UFO sightings in the area, only one of which was had by one member of the household prior to the sighting of the, entities or occupants. Regarding the reporting witnesses part of this sighting, she claimed that she was just absolutely transfixed or paralyzed by the shock of seeing this craft. And I mean, this mirrors countless other witnesses who claim that they kind of lose their senses or lose their sense of urgency or of normalcy while observing anomalies. And the spell in this case was only broken when the craft begins to move off. Now, I do find this interesting, and I wonder if, is it just the shock of seeing something so extra mundane that you don't know what to do, or is this some sort of effect produced by the anomaly? I also find it interesting that at the only juncture where there were two witnesses looking at this thing, whatever it was, at the same time, all that remained was a faint light. And yet again, too, the light is the first thing that attracted the reporting witness's attention. Now, I think that this points to one of Keel's great concepts, that the only real aspect of these anomalies in all of these cases may be the light, and everything else is some sort of mask and kind of auxiliary to the main center of the encounter. Here again, taking both the initial witnesses and the reporting witnesses' statements as of equal value, you have two people looking at something. We don't know what it is, but it's something, and the light really seems to be kind of the integral part. That's what attracted the reporting witness's attention, and that's what remained when she got the other nurse, who was effectively a third witness to something less dramatic than the monkeys or the UFO, but still to some sort of vague, faded white light. However, the first witness observes or maybe translates this disturbance as a group of monkeys sitting on the window ledge and swinging in the trees, whereas the second witness observes or translates it into a giant UFO. While on the face of it, a group of monkeys in the trees of Sturgean Bay sounds pretty ridiculous, so too does a silent, hovering, 100-foot-long object. Discrepancies beyond the typical differences of, two different witnesses' observation, they seem to just occur every now and again in anomalous encounters. One of my personal favorites is the Nottingham anomaly, in which a group of boys saw a strange fog that for two of them seemed to transform into some monstrous clawed creature, while the third boy didn't see that at all. He just saw the fog. Now, rather than detracting from these encounters, I genuinely think that it adds to the concept that these anomalies are not as they appear to be, and that the truth of them is hidden behind masks as countless as those who witness them. Well, if you enjoyed this episode on the Barrel of Monkeys UFO, please like, and if you're new to this field of crop circles, go ahead and subscribe to see what weirdness the future may have in store. Till then, you can keep up with me on my free blog at patreon.com/justanothertinfoilhat. And for today, I am Zelia Edgar, signing off.
Doing.